Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have been asked so many times if I could slow down and explain a how to budget or how to get started budgeting. I had uploaded a video on my Instagram and it had got a lot of activity, but the number one question was if I could slow it down and explain it slower. So YouTube is the perfect platform for that. So I'm gonna be taking you guys through a sample of how to set it up, and then I will be explaining my way through some of the decisions that I'm making. I'm gonna be using our Ultimate Budget Planner. If you guys don't have one of these, we still have some in stock, not all designs. I believe this one's still in stock. This is the Leaves design, and I will be linking that in the description below if you're interested. Let's get right in. So all of our planners have a how to use this page, and it'll tell you more or less how to use each page, but I'm gonna be breaking down how to even get started. And I'm gonna be using, actually trying to figure out what I wanna show. I'm actually gonna use our monthly budget. So I'm actually gonna use our monthly budget as well as this grid paper to the side to kind of lay things out. I have a lot of markers here. These are the Zebra Midliner markers. No reason, it's the one set of markers you can get in 1,000 different shades. And for budgeting purposes, at least when you're first starting out, you're going to want to separate things. So this is not something you'll continue to do forever, so don't get scared. I'm using an erasable Pilot Friction. This is the Friction Ball Clicker 07 erasable. It says Japan. I got them, I believe, from Amazon. I'll link them in my Amazon stores just so you guys are interested in having this exact pen. That's the one. It works perfect in our planner. I wouldn't suggest using an erasable pen in any of the gray shaded areas just because it can get really weird and messy for some reason. So what I'm gonna do first is you're gonna wanna find out your income that you're bringing in. This is the monthly overview of the budget. So regardless if you're paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, semi-monthly, whatever, you're gonna fill this out. I suggest filling this out every month so you know what the month looks like. There's some months I do it, some months I don't need to do it because the month is exactly the same as the one before. But if I have big things coming up, like my husband's running a marathon or we have some big family trip, then I will fill this out so I know the things that are coming. But this is perfect to help you guys get started. So I'm going to use this paper next to the monthly budget that's included. That way you guys can have kind of a draft. Now what I'm gonna do is write out first in sections, kind of the income that I'm expecting. So let's say my income varies, right? Let's say for this example, I'm paid every 2 weeks. So this example is gonna be bi-weekly. I'm going to stress that this is a sample. Okay, this is a sample budget. Now, I'm going to do bi-weekly as if this was not a fixed income. So let's say every 2 weeks you're paid based on hours. Sometimes you get more or less hours, overtime's involved, things like that. We're going to want to budget with the least possible money. That's not 0 hours, but that's gonna be if you average about 38 hours a check, or you average, 43 hours a check, whatever your average is, you're gonna wanna budget with. I like to budget worst case scenarios on both sides. So income, the lowest possible, and bills, the highest possible, because that is how you prepare for unexpected expenses. Budgeting is preparing for the worst case scenario, being prepared for that, because it will and can come. My electric bill for the longest time was under $150. 1 month, I think it might've been $153, maybe a little bit over. I recently got a $330 something electric bill, I kid you not. And I called them, asked what happened. Apparently my contract had expired. I thought I had renewed it, I didn't. I was in a month to month, as well as my electric usage increased like 1,000 kilowatts because it's summer, I guess. So that has to be prepared for, okay? So I wanna stress that we're preparing to have the bills be not the perfect scenario. If we budget the perfect scenario, we won't have excess when we make a mistake, okay? Now I know you're probably thinking, well, I don't even have enough to make the regular payment, or I'm barely making the regular payment. we're gonna do this in small portions, okay? We're gonna go from if we're expecting 150 and your highest has ever been 250, then we're gonna have a range from a 150 to 250, and we're gonna start to just budget a little bit more. So 150, we're gonna budget 200. And then once we get to 200, then we'll start budgeting, you know, in a few months, 225, 215. And then that money should just be sitting in the bank or withdrawing it if you don't trust yourself, putting it in envelopes. We have our 1 month ahead challenge, shameless plug. And if you have extra money, throw it in your getting ahead envelope where you can get ahead on that bill at some point. And if you don't have enough to fill out one of your icons, you can just throw it in the back into the extra. And then when you have money, start filling some of these things to have extra for that bill. But anyway, the point is to be sure you're planning for worst case scenarios. Okay, that's how you're gonna be prepared for bad things. So we're going to say our average income, worst case scenario, right, is, let's say my average for the last 2 months, $2,500 a check, okay? So you bring home $5,000. So let's say $2,500 a check, average $2,500. Sometimes it's 27, sometimes it's 23. The average is 25, right? Then I'm gonna budget for maybe $2,350. So if my average is $2,500 a check, I'm gonna budget with $2,350. I'm gonna give myself wiggle room, okay? Because the last thing you want is to not have enough. So we're gonna budget on the low end. And we're gonna do this on the low end. Okay, so then we have our average income, so $2,350. So we're gonna say check 1, $2,350, check 2. Okay, so we average $4,700 a month. This is our starting point. Now, when you first get started, you're gonna wanna print your statements. Now, I Googled online fake bank statements, but you could imagine what came up. So I'm not gonna pull fake bank statements, and I'm not gonna pull real bank statements because it's too much to erase and take things off. So I'm not gonna do that. But I'm going to give you the example if you did have a bank statement. So if you had your bank statement, let's say this says Kroger, okay? Which for me is like a Ralph's, or, you know, it's a grocery store, a Publix, depending where you are in the world. Kroger, which is a grocery store, also could be a gas station. So let's say Kroger says $75. Let's say we have Abercrombie. I'm gonna fill out a quick few transactions so we can look at it. And I'm gonna speed this part up so you guys don't have to sit here and listen to me figure them out. Okay, so let's say this is for the entire month, okay? Now I'm only gonna use a certain amount of transactions, but let's say we have, this is our bank statement, okay? The only thing we need to do is separate the bank statement into categories. So what we're gonna do is essentially figure out how much did I spend in groceries, how much did I spend in clothes, how much did I spend in kids' needs, you know, dog, oh, let me put dog, Petco, let's just say that was 45. We're gonna figure out where's the money being spent, right? So I'm gonna take a red highlighter and I'm gonna say, okay, I know Kroger is a gas station and groceries. Figure out what it was, okay? Go look on the app, whatever you have to do, guess, look at your old transactions. When did you get groceries? Is it a grocery run? Is that how much you put in gas? Figure it out. And let's say this is gas. Now we know. And then we're gonna say this is gas, not to be confused with food. And then let's say that's gas. Okay, that's all for, oh, and then we have the car, well, that's gas. Okay, then we're gonna say, I'm gonna highlight subscriptions, right? Things that I could go without if I lost my job. Spotify, Netflix, let's see, subscriptions, okay? These are gonna be subscriptions. This is going to be gas. Okay, that's for your vehicle. okay? And then we're gonna keep going. So we're gonna say groceries is HEB. I'm from Texas, okay? So groceries, that's the grocery store. And then that's our groceries. Now we have an idea of how much we're spending in these categories, right? So for subscriptions, I'm just gonna get my old 100-year-old calculator here. Okay, I'm gonna say for subscriptions, we're gonna total them, 7, 12, and 21. I'm spending $40 a month, right? This is a month in subscriptions. Gas, I'm spending $75, okay? So I'm just gonna check these off to be sure that they're done. So you'll highlight everything on your bank statement, give it categories, okay? If you run out, feel free to say, okay, wait, I need to create a category, or I can merge the category, okay? And then check it once you've calculated the total for that number. You're gonna do this for 2-month bank statements. So I'm gonna total these really quickly and I'll fast forward it. Once we have everything totaled, we're gonna say, wow, this is where people have big shocks, right? They say, and I like to kind of make this a game, and I'll say, okay, in the beginning, I'll be like, how much do I spend in groceries? And I'll be like, oh, $400. And then you go calculate and you're like, $1,300. So this is a very fun way, or shocking or scary, whatever way you want to see it, of seeing where your money is actually being spent, okay, where it's going. So this is a lot of work to get started, but I promise you, if you sit down on a Saturday morning, a Sunday afternoon, maybe after work at 6 o'clock, and you've had food and now you're having like popcorn, watching a movie in the background with the kids or something, crank this out, print your statements, get some highlighters, have patience doing it. And if you're scared you're gonna mess it up, there's erasable highlighters as well, by Pilot. So by this same company, they have erasable highlighters. So once we figure everything out, and I'm gonna move the ones I did not use so I don't get confused. Okay, so once we have everything figured out, we're gonna have this here. Now, remember, this is just to get started. So once you have everything kind of started, you'll never have to do this part again, okay? You'll know more or less your habits, okay? Now, one thing I wanna stress, do not make excuses. If you see on your bank statement, oh, that was that one time I ended up getting window tint, or that was that one time that I went to Target and we splurged on hair supplies for my daughter or whatever. Don't make excuses, okay? Calculate it and get an idea of what you're spending. And then you'll know what's tempting to you. Is it car stuff? Is it hair stuff? Is it food? Is it clothes? Is it house decor? What is your temptation? And then you can budget around it and make yourself like a little budget for it or a little envelope for it, but a more realistic one, okay? I'm not at all saying keep your habits the same, because that's the whole point of budgeting, is to try to fix the things that we don't want to happen. So if you see this and you say $40 in restaurants, $100 in spending, I'm not okay with my money going there. I'd rather put that in a savings account, then you're gonna have to stop spending it, right? So it's as restricting as you want. It's really up to you what goes where. I don't use percentages or anything like that, because I believe that your budget should match your priorities. If your priority is to have savings, if your priority is to get out of debt, if your priority is to travel, make memories, pay for your kids' tuition because they graduate college in 2 years, like whatever your priority is, budget around that. Let's say your priority, if this is your person and this is your statement, right? And say at the end of the month you have $0 or you're check to check, right? Then you look at this and you say, oh, my priority is saving. Well, is it? You know, is it saving? I don't see any savings here. So if the priority is savings, the budget should reflect the priority, okay? Currently, the priority is, I mean, I'm not saying this is a lot for a month, but I'm just saying based on these numbers, the priority is, it looks like spending, because other than housing and groceries, debt and spending are the priority. So you're racking up too much debt or you're spending too much in spending. Whatever the scenario is, your budget will tell you where your priority is, okay? So once we see our numbers, we're gonna start making our categories. Okay, this is where I'm spending my money. So we're gonna say, all of our bills, okay, our electric bill, our gas bill for the house, our car insurance, our life insurance, we're going to write those bills down. And I didn't write, let me think, hold on. Okay, so we're going to then write our bills. So we saw on here, right, we have rent is due every month on the 1st, okay? You're gonna put the due dates. Look at your statement, okay? And if you're paying your bills late, then you're gonna wanna go pull emails or log into the websites of all these places to find the actual due date, okay? So rent, you're gonna do electricity. Let's just say it's due on the 3rd. Okay, and then we have our life insurance. Yeah, these are the same. I would put them in the same category, but I think I wasn't thinking straight when I record. Sometimes I forget. Okay, and then house gas bill, okay? So then let's say this is due on the 4th, the 10th, 12th. Okay, so these are all your bills. You have your due dates, and then your rent is always $1,900. And then your electricity is 110. Let's just say it was 110 the last 2 months. Well, we're gonna start budgeting 135. Okay, we're gonna start budgeting a little bit extra. So we always budget up, budget up. So we're gonna budget up for the electric. Life insurance is fixed, okay? So let's say 20, car insurance is fixed, 200, and then house gas, $100. If it's fixed, if it's not fixed, we're gonna budget up a little bit, 110, you could even say, okay? So we have all of our bills down. Now, the bills are done. Now we're going to do our categories, okay? We're gonna say, all right, I have subscriptions, and you're gonna look at your subscriptions and be sure you wanna keep them. And you're gonna say subscriptions are a total of $40 a month, okay? My gas, I filled up, let's just say once every 2 weeks, we're gonna budget 1.5 tanks. We're always gonna budget worst case scenario. You have to fill up twice because 1 month you're gonna have to. So 112, so we're gonna say 115. So we're gonna budget 115, and this one we're budgeting up. We're gonna budget 1.5 tanks, okay? And then that's for emergencies. And then we're gonna go to grocery, and I'm gonna say, okay, so for grocery, I spent 180. That's about right. So on this month, I'm gonna budget, I don't know, either if you feel like you spent a lot, then do a little less. If you feel like, oh, we did really, really well, then you can budget a little bit more. Here, I would personally just keep it the same. So let's say 180 for the month, okay? Just say, these are example numbers. Okay, then we're gonna say restaurants. If your priority is, let's say this person's priority is saving, then we need to now create a savings category. So we're gonna say restaurants, we're gonna leave that to see what's left at the end. So we're gonna wait. Debt, can't help it, right? 400, not until we start paying it down. So debt is 400, housing, we already did that, 1,000 for the rent. Electricity, we already did that, so that's counted in there. Spending, we're also going to wait until the end. And because remember, our priority is saving. So we're gonna wait to disperse money and separate money out until we figure out how much is left, okay? So we have spending, and then entertainment, same thing. We're gonna wait. And then we have pet. Let's say we can't help it. We have pets, they need food, they need vaccinations, grooming, whatever. And I pay $45 a month. Then I would say 55 and start an envelope, which means put 55 every single time you get paid or every month, whichever one we're gonna do for your budget. And then let that money roll over. So I would do a little bit more than you need for pet. Personally, I have 3 dogs, trust me. Okay, and then we have beauty. And same thing, let's say, well, my husband needs a haircut and my kids need haircuts and I get a haircut and I need eyelash extensions and I get mascara every 2 months and stuff like that. Then you can start a beauty envelope or like a personal maintenance envelope. And I would say maybe like $45 a month is fair. And you just keep rolling it and whoever needs it uses it. If it's not enough, the next check, try to do $10 more, $15 more until you land on a number that makes sense. And remember, it's okay to borrow from one to do another envelope, as long as you're not using all the envelope money and then you're dipping into your credit cards or savings and things like that. You want to eventually land on a number that's pretty close to permanent. You'll learn your spending habits, okay? So then we're gonna look at restaurants and we're gonna say, oh no, first we're gonna do savings because that's our priority, okay? If our priority was to pay debt, then we would see what's left and we would put that money to debt, right? If that's our priority. If our priority is to fund college savings, same thing. We get to the end, put the rest in college savings. Now, if there's not enough left for college savings, then that's when we try to figure out what we can cut or what we can negotiate or get rid of, right? Maybe we don't need Netflix anymore. Maybe we can negotiate our car insurance down, or maybe we can cancel our music subscription to listen to the ads, you know, whatever. So that's if you don't have enough, okay? And then we're going to figure out this person's priority is savings, how much is left. So again, this is an example, so I'm not even sure how much is gonna be left, but let me do the math really quick. We have $1,500 left, and if the priority is saving, they still wanna eat out, they still wanna have spending money, and they still wanna have entertainment. So I would say if they spent $50 for the whole month, I would say 30 is cutting it back, okay, to save, if that's the priority. However aggressive you wanna be is up to you. If you wanna say, I'm not doing any entertainment, all the money's going to savings, that's fine, that's up to you. If your goal is to save $1,000 a month, and you can say, okay, then 500's for whatever else, okay? It's your decision. Whatever's left is what you're working with. So let's say I chose to cut it back a little bit, and my spending, I like spending, it motivates me to keep saving. So we're gonna do minus 130, the 30 and the 100, and the restaurants, I'll lower it, or let's just say raise it up a little bit, because we typically eat out more than we did, right? So then we have 1,270, and we'll say 1,270 is left to go here. This is called a zero-based budget. This is what I suggest when you've done it a few months, okay? When you're starting out, I recommend having a cushion or a buffer. If you have absolutely no money available to you, not even on a credit card, then have enough if you did a oopsie for one of your bills. So I would say like your highest average bill minus debt, let's just say electric. So you'd wanna have 135 left. Once you get to doing this for 2 or 3 months and you're like, yeah, I'm on it, I know exactly what's coming out, nothing is surprising you, no quarterly pest control, nothing like that, then you can get to zero. But to start, I would have a buffer to start, okay? So this is more for experience, and I'm saying that because you do not want to be negative and paying the bank anything. Now, this is a very good budget. It's set. You cannot set it and forget it, unfortunately. So now we're done with this, okay? We're done with this. That was the hardest part. Now we're going to put it here on our budget, monthly budget, okay? Now, I'm going to put this on our monthly budget, and I'm gonna kind of speed through this, but you're gonna put your income, bills, no particular order. If you wanna do it in a particular order, section off whatever you'd like. This is an eye shot of everything. The number one thing with your budget that is sometimes a little bit confusing is once you set it, you then have to track it. So you're welcome to use this one monthly sheet if that's what you'd like, or you can use our paycheck planners, which is basically one payday at a time. So you would put your payday, what bills are due inside that check, split some of the variables, which is the gas, groceries, restaurants, split some of that up into this check, and then the second check, and then you track the transactions for each category here. You're welcome to do, like, say you fill this all out, right, for check number 1, and over here, you end up going to get groceries. Then you're gonna say, okay, on January 1st, I went to Kroger, let's say it was groceries, and you're gonna say groceries, and it was $20, we bought some meat. Let's just say you started with $2,700 from payday. So then you're gonna say I have $2,630, no, what am I doing? $2,680, oops, I'm sorry. And then you're going to want to keep some kind of highlighting ideas. So you can say groceries is, and it doesn't have to match this, okay? Or it doesn't have, let's just do it for this example, but it doesn't have to match. So let's say groceries is going to be orange. So you're going to say orange, okay? Then at the end of the month, right, you're going to say, I budgeted 180 for groceries. Let me come back here and calculate how much I spent in groceries. So you can go count all of the orange for groceries, tally it, and then put your actual for groceries. At the end of the month, we have this really fun section where you can say groceries. I started with 180, I spent 140, like that. And you can track all your transactions and kind of say what you're proud of and focuses on for next month. That is how you guys get started on a budget. You don't have to do the highlighting every single month, but it does make it easier to track, especially when you're starting out. This is how you get started. I hope this helps. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.